I want to critique your designs.
So, welcome back everybody. Today, something a little bit different. We're starting with the design critiques. Thank you very, very much to everybody who's had that courage to send in their drawings. I know what it takes to put your work up in front of somebody and have it critiqued, positive or negative. Yet, I think it's the best way for everybody to learn a little bit, to gain some experience on their way to becoming better at what they want to be. I've had hundreds and hundreds of submissions. Kind of tough to get through all of them, but we're gonna make a real good stab at it. So there are varying degrees of experience here. There'll be a little bit of something for everybody, and hopefully I can help you, whatever stage you're at, move to the next level. You might notice that I'm in a different place this morning. I walked out, went into the studio, sat down, got everything ready, laid out all the drawings, and immediately it felt kind of like I was a teacher sitting in there and getting ready to grade some papers. And I was, gotta tell you, very uncomfortable to do it that way. I thought, it's a beautiful day, stunning sunshine, pleasant September morning. I thought I'd just come out in the garden, lay everything out, get all my tools with me here. I've got everything I need. Sit here and go through the drawings and see if we can make a bit of input very valuable to the people watching. First one is Aniket Powell. He's 15 years old, seems to be a very passionate young designer. So many thanks, Aniket, for the bravery I'm sure that it takes to forward your work in, to have it critiqued. Looking at it here, I've got a side view. It's pretty much where we all start as designers. We typically take an easy perspective, which is a straight-on side view to communicate our designs. So just looking at your sketch here, Aniket, it kind of transports me back to when I was that young age, and I remember sitting in my father's dealership, sitting there drawing side views of all the cars I had around me, and what a great way to learn, pretty much understand how to transmit something that you see in front of you onto a piece of paper. Basically what you have going for you right here at the beginning is pretty much, astoundingly, at 15 years old, very good proportions. What I do want to start out with is basically where you put your front wheel, right there. And the first thing when we draw cars, especially from this view, is we go in and we set the wheelbase, which you've done. You've got it here, and you've got your rear wheel in this position here. More or less, just to start out with, it can vary quite a bit depending on the vehicle, but just go for what we call 3 wheels between the main wheels. So if you just sort of 1, 2, and 3, you'll see that Aniket's come very close to getting 3 wheels, more or less, between the front and rear. Now, one of the most important things that a lot of people forget is that we're not designing airplanes, we're designing cars. So there has to be a feeling that the car is sitting on the ground. And when you forget it, it kind of, at the end, doesn't give you the full feel of the car. So what I recommend is to draw the wheels on the other side of the vehicle. And you'll say, well, how can you see them? You see them typically right here. So these 2 little lines that I'm drawing here are quite important for perspective, and you'll see it in a second. What I do then is I join them up. So this becomes the road underneath. And these 2 spots here are actually the tires on the other side of the vehicle. As you go to a vanishing point that's directly behind, that means that everything tends to go to just that vanishing point, which is why you would see the tires on the other side of the vehicle. Then thicken it up a little bit to give it some perspective, some size. Right there, you're starting to see that the vehicle is actually planted on the ground. It's not hovering as it started out. Then again, the bottom line, your rocker panel lower line here, typically that's not getting any light at all. So you want that to be very dark. Your bumper line here is much too low. I'd raise it slightly higher to something around in there, but make it a little bit darker so it's showing that it's actually underneath the vehicle. To give the car a little bit of dynamic movement, Aniket, what you want to do is give the belt line, which is this line right in here where the glass and the body meet, a little bit of angle typically, not too much, not too exaggerated, but just give it a little bit of lift as it comes to the back. That will give you a little bit more of a lean. And then, Aniket, you want to be aware that the driver is pretty much in this area here. You can almost put a stick figure in sometimes to imagine the actual proportions, and the steering wheel roughly in that position. So imagine his eye is here. You want to give him some improved vision angle. So you want to be sure that he can see enough in the forward direction. So you want to try to lower the bottom of the windscreen or the windshield a little bit from where you have it, such that it gives him a better forward visibility angle, and bring the hood down slightly. Depends obviously on whether you have a front engine or a mid-engine, but typically we try to lower the front of the car, the bonnet or the hood, as low as we can get it so that we have a much better forward viewing angle. So, and one little trick, Aniket, that you can do to give the car a little bit more volume is to put a horizon reflection line. Now, what do I mean with that? Well, this surface here is not a wall. It's not flat. It has a bit of curvature in it. If I was to draw a straight line through it like that, it would be a wall. But really, this surface here is roundish. So how do you represent that in a sketch like this? You basically use a reflection. So what is on this side is reflected into that surface. So what I would do is just throw an easy reflection line. You see how fast I put a line in like that? That becomes the edge of the horizon that is in this area here. So remember, a little bit more dynamic belt line, a bit lower front hood. Your back end is fine, but you need to lift it here underneath. Keep that ground line and the rocker line pretty solid so that you have it sitting on the ground, and keep the proportions in your mind as you're drawing. But basically, you've started out very, very well for a 15-year-old drawing his cars. At this stage, it's very good. You have potential. So, of course, Aniket, you see a lot of lines on here. Don't worry about that. Don't panic. What you would do now is take this, put it under another piece of paper, and then almost trace over it and choose the best lines, the ones that you think are the right lines. And then, of course, you'll lose those previous thinking lines that I call, and you'll have a much cleaner drawing and a much better car to start working off of with the exact proportions that you're looking for. There are a lot of things that you can do, obviously, to improve this, and I think the next step that we try to master, that I personally did after I got through this level here, was to start turning the vehicles in different perspectives so that you can imagine it from a 3/4 rear, 3/4 front, a bit of tip up, drawings that tell you a bit more information than just a straight on side view. That's where the learning starts to come in, but you have to have the basics. And the basics, like I'm telling you here, will help you to get to the next level. You'll feel more confident. Concentrate, first of all, on making your side view as close to being professional as you can, and then we'll move on to the next steps after that. So thank you, Aniket, for sending this in. It's been great to be able to review a drawing like this. Keep going, try to learn from what I said, and now we're going to move on to the next drawing. So our next sketch is from Mateus Beck. Mateus is from Denmark. He's a musician. Seen from a musical point of view, I can see how you go up and down and flow. So the design of your car, which is a 2020 Du Cheval, the CV, 2CV from France. It's interesting to see it. It immediately throws off a feeling of the Du Cheval. And I see you've tried to modernize it. You've tried to give it a bit of a more luxurious look to it. First of all, what I would say is you want it to be, number one, plant the car on the ground. As I said in one of the earlier critiques, you want the car to be sitting on the ground, not look like it's floating in the air, darken the area underneath the vehicle. That will immediately plant it on the ground, give it a bit more of a solid feeling. Be careful where you put the shadow, obviously, because it depends on your light source, where the light's coming from. But if you do that in a controlled manner, if you study how light is projected onto an object, you can accurately portray the shadow in the right direction. So that immediately will settle the car. The next obvious thing that I see, which is a fault that a lot of young designers have, it's not a fault, I think it's just basically not knowing or not having the feel yet, is if you do a line drawing of a vehicle like this, and all the lines have the same intensity, there really is no feeling to the design. What you want to be able to do is sketch it in a way that lines get darker and get lighter progressively, obviously. Much like in music. If you understand music like you do, I'm sure, You get the hard notes, the soft notes. It's a blend. It's a nice transition, or it can be a strong transition. But you want that flow to happen. And so if you do the lines of the vehicle in such a way that they're all dark, it's a very strong, almost immature representation of the drawing. So you want it to have dark to light, or light to dark, light to dark. That gives you the feeling that the drawing is actually a thinking sketch. So the next thing, Mateos, I think is important, is to make sure when you draw a car that basically the simple shapes are correct. In other words, if you're going to draw it from the side view and directly from the side view, you want your wheels to be very round, I would say. It takes a while to get that feeling of drawing a round circle. You can use guides. Obviously, a circle guide would help you to get there. And many times, if you get the drawing with the wheels, not so much the wheel design itself, but the wheel shape accurate, then the whole drawing will start to fall in place and look very well. It's one thing that, again, is very common among designers is the fact that they set the car much, much too low to the ground. Now, you don't want the car sitting on the ground unless you're doing a Mexican lowrider or some type of hot rod. Most of us don't design those kind of cars. They're made into those kind of cars. But at the same time, get the actual position of the vehicle on the street correct. So you want to have decent sized wheels, decent sized space between the wheels, obviously depending on the type of vehicle. But that ground level relationship is very important to start with. So get the car up off the ground, give it enough wheel travel. You need, obviously, a little bit more detail on your drawings, because what I'm looking here is you've not put in enough cut lines, and cut lines are good. Cut lines help to, in a sketch at least, they help to define the section of the body, what the section of the material is like. So if you want to put in some section lines, like you've done here on the middle one, you've come down pretty flat there. I probably would have given it a bit more contour. You've come out here and you've gone back down. So that section line of the door, the cut line, defines or helps you to read better the volume you have running through here. Another thing is perhaps you want to be sure that the bottom of the car in the back is always lifting. That's always a very good thing for aerodynamics. You try to lift the bottom of the car upwards, not to create what we all recognize as a teardrop, but basically because it works aerodynamically in terms of what we call diffuser type design in the back, where you can change the air pressure and actually suck the vehicle down. So always try to give a little bit of rise to the bottom of the car in the back. Is this all one piece of glass, or is it broken up with pillars that shorten the size of the glass? So you would want to show a little bit more in your sketch of what you're trying to achieve. Try to show a bit more refinement in this sketch than what you're showing here, because the next level up from here is where you really start getting into communicating the design. This is almost what I would call just a thumbnail sketch. It comes out of your mind, you just nail it really quickly on paper, but you have to basically take this sketch to another level. And I'd be curious to see how you would take this sketch to the higher level, which starts to show material shapes, details on different elements of here, how you're trying to achieve that luxury. Is it through little detailed designs? Luxury, like I said earlier, is a hard word to define, but it means basically you're getting something more than what you expected. So yeah, take the sketch to a higher level, show more definition through the cut lines, and a little bit more detail into the actual design of the elements themselves. So thank you, Mateos, for sharing your drawing. Hopefully there's something in there for you to pick up on. And now let's move on to the next one. So the next one is Ishan. Ishan Dogra. Ishan is from India, 23 years old. He's studying at the IAAD in Torino, Italia. Ishan comes across already as being very professional to me. One thing I really like, and it's always interesting when you get to this level, is to really get into the mind of the designer. You can communicate a lot of things with your sketches, obviously. That's the main objective. But Ishan, by the way he's presented this to me, is really taking me into his way of thinking. It's almost like I can see his personality. And how has he done that? He's done something new. I've never done it that way. When I was a student, we had different objectives back then, but this new way of designing is he's actually created a storyboard. So what Ishan has done with his storyboard is created a feeling for the vehicle, why the vehicle is absolutely critical for the environment, for society. So it's interesting to begin the story reading how he sees the situation to be and what problem he's trying to solve, or what problems he's trying to solve. But what he's been able to do is create a very modern type vehicle. Immediately you notice it. The only thing, Ishan, that I would probably say that is not in the same language as the rest of the vehicle are the wheels themselves. You can see that they're a little bit too traditional. But apart from that, the whole vehicle communicates futurism. It hasn't lost the vehicle feeling, very important, because we don't want to turn vehicles into rolling refrigerators or rolling washing machines, anything very industrial product like that. Vehicles are moving, they're meant to be moving. They should look dynamic, even when they're standing still. You've achieved that very well. It has its own graphic. I wouldn't say it's a very sporty looking vehicle, but it is a very purposeful looking vehicle. And what I've always said, through purpose you achieve beauty. Great purpose means great beauty. So great job on that. Side view, love it. You can see that it kind of flows, but it doesn't flow. That's hard to achieve. It's kind of like two different types of music in one song that works really well together. Take Mozart and Arabic music, combine them, you get amazing results. I feel that's what you've done here. So from the outside point of view, I think it's pushing the limits of what we can do, which is what you as a designer should be able to do. Throw out new barriers, new boundaries out there that make it difficult, again, for the engineers to solve, but that's good design. The thing that really got to me, that really impressed me very much, not only is the exterior very clean, very simple, but the interior follows the same principle. Now what Ishan has done is he's created a vehicle that has a reason to be. So what he's created is an environment within the vehicle that solves the problem of today. We know that life is tough, life is stressful, life is fast. And what Ishan has tried to do is find something that is actually able to calm you down in your times of relax, when you can probably go out during your lunch break and take a break from work and sit in your vehicle and chill, as we say. So what he's created is an interior environment that is extremely Zen-like. And again, with all the complications of life, we all need some place to go back to and relax in. So what he's been able to do, and I wish I could show you here, but you'll see it on camera, is construct and design, develop an interior that really gives you that peaceful feeling that we're trying to achieve through meditation many times, but we have nowhere to do it. Basically, this vehicle is a moving vehicle that allows you to do it maybe even on the go. So what he's created is, like I said, the Zen environment. But what I would say in this enclosed wooden room, actually, that isolates you from the outside, is maybe, Ishan, instead of spilling out and gushing about the design too much, is maybe think about the different types of people with different types of issues that would like to have some place to go to resolve those issues. For example, when you're underway in this vehicle, maybe you want to create an exciting atmosphere, something that really, gets your adrenaline going. So perhaps you could represent on the inside some type of VR type atmosphere that goes into any direction you would like, whether it be the outdoors or an interior environment, whatever kind of environment you're trying to search out, project that in some way that it gives you that feeling within the vehicle. And then what you would want to try to do, I would think, is try to isolate yourself from the outside world, in the sense that when you're in this environment, if that vehicle is moving, there has to be some type of way to completely desensitize or isolate yourself from the real world. You don't want to feel the vehicle braking or accelerating or moving from side to side. So you'll want some kind of gyroscopic action maybe inside the vehicle developed on a large scale that allows that interior just to be as calm and as controlled as you can have it. So you could, Ishan, even bring in what my favorite subject is biomimicry. You could bring that into this equation here, where you think, for example, on the lines of the woodpecker, which I brought in when I designed the new baby seat coming out, the baby arc, where the woodpecker's brain, basically when it's beating away at that trunk, that the brain is in perfect isolation to the impact, so you can control that item without it being affected by the outside forces. So if you could create some type of internal environment that is resistant to outside input outside forces, you'd be on something really, really advanced on something like this. But it's not just another car on the road. It's something very special, which attracted me immediately, Ishan. So really, really congratulations to doing a project like this. Thanks for everybody's submissions. I'm getting through them slowly. It's not something you want to look through too fast because everybody's putting a lot of effort, I can see, into them, and that's making me very happy to see that everybody is very enthusiastic and wanting to improve. So if I can help you in any way, great. And I hope you enjoy these small episodes. We'll be doing a lot more of them, so keep sending in those portfolios and those sketches. There's quite a bit of them already, but all of them are appreciated, and we're trying to pick out the best ones, the very best ones that help us to analyze the sketching technique and the presentation technique and overall good taste, adding to good taste in design. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.